Hi, hello. This is Thomas from Western Literature, and the topic I want to talk about today is a poet's awareness of time. Time has been a constant topic for people since ancient times. People have always enjoyed time, but everyone has a very different understanding of time. Among the many poets from ancient times to the present, the Romantic poets had discussed time more frequently. Romantic poets with romantic sensitive have a deeper understanding of such a serial and ethereal and romantic topics as time. People who born to die and the change from day to night, from the freezing winter to the blossoming spring, these are all time. Among the romantic poets, there are so many who has a profound understanding of time. I will introduce them in a chronological order. The first one is Jean-Jacques Rousseau, a French poet born in 1712 who had a great influence on the French Revolution and the formation of post-romanticism. In terms of time, he was a pre-romantic poet and his works had a very deep understanding of time and death. Rousseau wrote his confessions to share his emotions about life and death. Such feelings stem from his childhood experience and the early death of his mom. Because of the sadness that radiated from his mother's death, I felt that I can feel the love that his father and his family gave him because his mother's death. There is also very positive feeling in his literature as he talks about the day of judgment after his death and how he will confess all his sins and tell the story of his life. His concept of time comes from his adult life and the foreshadowing he left behind, as he talks about how the events of his childhood guided him from the rest of his life. As you can see, he was an extremely passionate man. All the emotions and positive views that Rousseau talks about in his confessions are ex- exemplary of the romantic ideal. The secondary, the second one poet I want to talk about is the post-romantic woman poet, Rosalie de Castro. As a woman poet, she expresses her thoughts in a more profound way. Her poems are full of questions about religion. She would use seasons to indicate the change of time instead of the months. This shows that her view of time is different from that of ordinary people. Each month is not necessarily very distinctive, but each season is distinctive. The same deep understanding of death and time stirs from the early deaths of a loved one. Her children died very early, so she could only express her grief and frustration from poetry. She really expresses sorrow and grief, life and death and time, as well as the hope on loss in her poems. This undoubtedly came from the pain of losing her child. Another very famous romantic poet had a similar understanding of time is Percy Bysshe Shelley, a former romantic poet from England. The most recurring element in his encouraging poetry is a wind. It is as if the wind has traveled through the seasons and through every part of the country. Unlike the previous one, unlike the previous two, Shelley's poetry does not contain negative and sadness emotions, but rather a positive and encouraging one. The same use of the seasons to express time can be mixed with a high philosophy of time, of death and time, but his poetry always gives a positive feeling. The last writer is the formalist author Rimbaud. He is a poet with a very abstract style of writing and different from the former three. He is also the symbolism. Uh, he is also the symbolism poet. He is a poet with a very abstract style of writing. All of his works were written between the ages of 16 and between 16 and 20. This age gives his works a very youthful and mythological atmosphere. For example, in his last poem, he depicts of 6 children crouching in May, holding a snail in a boat as fragile as a butterfly. These sadness children is undoubtedly a symbol of himself. In such a depiction, he expresses the time he once experienced but can never return to. That's all for today. Thank you.